What is going on YouTube? Today I got a special video for y'all. Obviously we know NBA free agency has been a crazy ride this year, and so today we're going to be doing a video on a tier list of where I think NBA teams will be for the 26-27 season. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. Make sure to like and sub for the next videos, and let's get into it. Alright, so first up we got the Atlanta Hawks. Now, to me, before the season, I would say that they are in the C tier. They've been the definition of pretty mid for a long time, and so far this free agency, I mean, they added a couple pieces, Aaron Wiggins and Devin Carter, some off the top of my head, but I really don't think that they move the needle too much. But also, I don't think they make them worse or too much better. Obviously, I could be wrong. For that reason, I'm going to be putting the Atlanta Hawks in C tier. Nothing too crazy, nothing too rambunctious. This free agency, you never know. But yeah, that's where they're going to be at for now. Next up, we got the Boston Celtics. And if you guys don't know, I'm a Philadelphia 76er fan, true and true. Been a fan ever since I was little. And so, obviously one of the most talked about trades this entire free agency is the Jaylen Brown trade. Very happy that he's a 76er. Before, I would say the Celtics are an A tier. Before this season, they put together a really good team. They made a really good regular season run, but then in the playoffs, they blew a 3-1 lead. So for me, I would say in this season, they were A tier. But honestly, I don't know how Paul George is going to end up. I don't know how it's going to be having Derek White taking more shots. I know he's a very well-respected player. He's a veteran player in the league. Tatum is going to be coming back from an injury. It was kind of lingering in the playoffs. And so for that reason, I know I can be biased, but I think I'm going to put the Boston Celtics at a high B tier, definitely a B+. They even could be an A-, but right now with the way Paul George really is, he's getting up there in age. I think he's, 36 years old? I don't know. But with that being said, I think the Boston Celtics are going to be at a B+ tier. I think they'll be high B tier. Next up, we got the Brooklyn Nets. And now, for me, I think the Nets a D tier team. They added a piece. They added Mo Wagner, but he's not really moving the needle either for me. They're continuing to build around a young core. Igor Demin. They just drafted Michael Brown Jr. And so I can't make a judgment based on that. I know Michael Brown Jr. has looked really good in his one summer league game that I've seen. But for that reason, I'm still going to keep the Brooklyn Nets in D tier. I know. I kind of want to move them low C tier, but I still got to keep them D tier for that reason. Now for the Charlotte Hornets. For me, they were a C+ tier team. I'd definitely put them above the Hawks, but I don't think I would move them into that B tier. If I were, I think it'd be a B- tier. They make the play-in, they do what they can. They had a really good play-in game, very high level game, tense game for the Charlotte Hornets. But obviously they just lost LaMelo Ball in a trade with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They did get Naz Reid though, and I am very big on Naz Reid, Jersey guy, love him. They also added Dorian Finney-Smith this free agency. And so for that reason, and losing a star player like LaMelo Ball, who's a 25-point scorer, plus your point guard, the guy you're running your offense through, it is a tough blow. But, I do believe in the players they have. I do believe in a player like Kobe White to take more shots and be the guy in his offense, stuff like that. I do believe in this Hornets squad. I do think they can do some things. I think Naz Reid, again, is a great player. All that being said, I got to put them in C tier, and I think I am going to put them above the Atlanta Hawks. Actually, I think for now I'm going to put them behind the Atlanta Hawks. Now, next up, we got the Chicago Bulls. The moves they've been making, I'm very happy with these moves. Not only did they do that, but they signed an all-star in Norman Powell. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but I do know Norman Powell is an all-star. He is certified. He's a shooter. I think Buzelis and Wilson, I think Buzelis is going to put up a career season. I'm very high on him as a player. I think Wilson is going to be top 3 in Rookie of the Year, no doubt to me. Obviously, all could be wrong. But with that being said, I'm putting them in a B- tier. Now we're moving on to an interesting team. This team is the Cleveland Cavaliers. And obviously, at the time this video is being recorded, we have no idea where LeBron James is going to go. They say he's down to 3 teams. Then I always see that there's 5 teams still in the running. And now he's back down to 3 teams. I have no idea where he's going. But this video could easily change if the Cleveland Cavaliers manage to get LeBron James on their team. But right now, they haven't done too much, nothing too crazy. I do like their pickup that they got in the draft in Malik Thomas. I do think he's a great prospect. I do think he's a great player. I liked what I saw out of him in Arkansas. I liked what I saw out of him in Overtime Elite in high school. I followed him. I think he's a great player. I think he's very aggressive. I think he's what the Cavs are missing a little bit from their guard play. I love Donovan Mitchell. I love James Harden every now and then, depending on how he's playing. But I think the Cavs were already an A-tier team, maybe even S-tier on a good day. Obviously, they came up short in the playoffs, but, they re-signed Donovan Mitchell in free agency. I think they picked up an interesting prospect. I won't say he's going to make an impact right away, but I do think that the Cavs solidify themselves in A-tier. Next up is the Dallas Mavericks, and I know this past season they've been riddled with injuries, stuff like that. Losing Derek Lively a little bit into the season. Kyrie Irving obviously not playing for a majority of the season. I think the whole season actually is definitely a big blow. But it gave a chance for someone like Cooper Flag, who has potential to be an all-time great, all-time player. Really giving him the reins. They had him playing point guard a little bit, doing all that. Last year, I would say they were a C-tier team because of that. Maybe on a good day, a B- tier. My thing with them is that they fired Jason Kidd. I always thought Jason Kidd had a good head on his shoulders when it came to coaching the Dallas Mavericks. I thought he was very great in his past year with Cooper Flag. I thought he did a great job developing him as a coach. They got rid of him. They separated. They went different ways. For that reason, even though all those players are coming back, I am a little hesitant to put them in high B tier or even A- tier. But I'm going to put them right in front of the Bulls in B tier. Denver Nuggets, the Nuggets, they haven't really done too much in free agency, are always a consistent A tier team to me. And with that being said, they have Nikola Jokic, who's always going to be an MVP candidate. They still have good pieces around that team. And for that reason, I'm going to keep the Denver Nuggets in A tier. Next up is the Pistons, and I think the Pistons are a very interesting team. They signed Josh Collins, and if you remember Josh Collins when he was playing with Trae Young, I think he is an outstanding lob threat. I think he is a great interior presence, and I think adding that to the roster that the Detroit Pistons have built over time, I really like what they got going on. You saw the massive jump they made last year, being the #1 seed in the East. I know their playoff run came up a little short, but there's not really much else you could have asked out of that young core that they have. Cade Cunningham and Asar Thompson being the two names that really jump out at me. On top of that, they also drafted one of my favorite players out of the draft, Ibuka Okori, out of Stanford. I think he's a really aggressive guard. I think he'll bring a lot of heart to the organization. I will say I believe he's one of those players that can make an impact. Whether the Detroit Pistons believe that or not, that's up to them. But for that reason, and that being said, I also think that the Pistons are A- tier right now. Now for the Golden State Warriors, again, similar to the Cavaliers, they're in the running for LeBron James. And when it comes to LeBron James, clearly anything can happen. He can go make a big 180 on us, go wherever he wants. It's really his world when it comes to free agency. But Golden State is another strong suitor for him. They have Stephen Curry. As long as they have Stephen Curry, I think they'll always be at least a B- tier team. I see them being better than a couple teams. I do really like the showing that Jaxson Lindenberg has been having on his summer league campaign. He's been doing really well. I think he's showing flashes of being a great wing that can stretch the floor and show a little toughness on the interior. I do really like what they're building. They've been relatively quiet for free agency, nothing too crazy, but I do think still that strictly because of Stephen Curry and the greatness that he has and the player that he is, I do think they're in B tier, and I will put them above the Chicago Bulls for sure. Next up is the Houston Rockets. I really did like the way that the Rockets are structured right now. Kevin Durant, Amen Thompson, Alperen Sengun. I do like them as a miniature big three, not really a big three yet. Sengun was an all-star. KD is an all-star. I think Amen Thompson needs to take that jump in his offensive game in order to, be that guy that can be that third person in a big three. But they made some good moves. They signed Marcus Smart, who I think is another scrappy guard who's a veteran, and he'll definitely help Amen Thompson even more and the rest of the guards in that room, even more on being scrappy and kind of bringing that toughness that Houston's been bringing year after year as they've been making these moves. They extended Tariq Eason, who I think is a good player. I think he's a serviceable player. But I think just the fact that they haven't really done too much and the showing that they showed us last year, I think they're going to be B+ tier, but they still go behind the Celtics for me. Next up is the Pacers. Indy, they had a rough season last year, really. When you lose your star player in Tyrese Halliburton, to the injury that he had. It's heartbreaking. The news stories that we saw all about Tyrese Halliburton as he recovered, it was crazy. The shingles thing, everything. Big prayers to him, hoping that he comes back and has a great season. Never would wish that on anybody. But, the Pacers really are another team that's been pretty quiet, keeping most of their core together for the offseason. And I think they're just really looking forward to getting back to being 100% stable rather than trying to make a big, splashy move. And so for that reason, because I don't know how Tyrese Halliburton can come back from that injury, I'm going to put them in B tier. I think the team altogether is better than the Warriors, maybe even comparable to the Warriors. I think they can be interchangeable here, wherever, but for right now, I'm going to put them in front. Next up, we got the LA Clippers, and obviously I know the trade is on hold right now until the Clippers investigation is done. But they got rid of Kawhi Leonard, they traded him to the Raptors. I think they got a decent deal for him. I'm just not a big fan of the Clippers and what they got going on right now. And for that reason, I think they have to go in a spot similar to the Bulls and the Warriors right here. I think they fit this tier in the B- tier, nothing too crazy. But until that Kawhi trade goes in, and once it does go through, I really think they're going to be a mid-tier team, maybe a little bit above the hump. The West is definitely a rough conference to be in. So I see them maybe being a play-in team, maybe just making the playoffs. But yeah, for that reason, I think they're going to be B- tier. Now, next up, we got another interesting team, the Los Angeles Lakers. The biggest headline all over the freaking NBA. I already covered it a little bit with two of these teams. LeBron James leaving is a total heartbreak for Los Angeles, but I think it's deserving for LeBron to pick where he wants to be for his last year, so I don't blame him at all. But, they still have Luka Doncic. They still have Austin Reeves, who, in my opinion, is still a top 5 backcourt in the entire NBA right now. They're two very skilled players. They picked up Walker Kessler. They've picked up some guys. They picked up Kevon Looney, who I still think is a very serviceable big man. Those two guys in the front court manning the paint, I do think it's an upgrade from what they've had in the past years at the center position specifically. So I'm excited to see how that works out. I think Walker Kessler fits in really well with a guy like Luka Doncic running the show. They've picked up some scrappy guards, Quentin Grimes and Colin Sexton. So I do like where they're going with the roster. That being said, I also think they're in B tier. Maybe they're not B+ or B-. I think they're in the middle right now. I think they will be above the Mavericks, just simply because they have a guy like Luka Doncic, who is a superstar. Next up, we got the Grizzlies, and obviously the Grizzlies have kind of had a rough patch these past couple of years after being, in my opinion, almost contenders for a couple of years when they had that real good group going on, and then Ja Morant got suspended, and I'm pretty sure he got injured. Now they lost Ja Morant to the Portland Trail Blazers, which is kind of a blow for them. And right now, I don't see them in a spot really to even be competing. I think they're going to find themselves in a rebuilding phase. Cam Boozer's an interesting prospect. I don't think he's a type of player that can instantly change the trajectory of a team. He plays a big man role. He plays a traditional big type of role. He can stretch it out a little bit, but I don't think he's a guy that you can just give the ball to and have him work out and kind of change a game every time. I think he does have a presence on the floor, especially from what I've seen in the Summer League. I think he puts up good stat lines, but does he change the game for me? I don't think so, and so for that reason, I got to put the Memphis Grizzlies in D tier. Now for the Miami Heat, another one of the biggest moves in the entire NBA, Giannis Antetokounmpo, them gaining him in a trade with the Milwaukee Bucks. But putting him next to Bam Adebayo, people forget, Bam Adebayo did have 83 points, whether you think he was inflated or not, because he played the Wizards or not, he still had 83 points. I do believe Bam Adebayo is a superstar, and for that reason, I would like to put him in A- tier. I think they're above the Boston Celtics. I definitely think they're B+. And you know what? I'll be a little overzealous and say that the Miami Heat, putting Giannis next to Bam Adebayo in that front court, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to score on them in that paint. And for that reason, I'm going to put them in A- tier. Now, for the team that was on the other end of that trade, the Milwaukee Bucks, they picked up Tyler Hero. They got a couple pieces. They got some picks. But right now, with the team and the way they're operating, I think they're really trying to rebuild. I think they're going to see what this year looks like, see who they can really look to build around, because I feel like right now they've got a couple guys. Ryan Rollins made a little bit of a name for himself last year. Tyler Hero is definitely a name to keep in mind. I think this year is going to be a year where they try to find out who they can build around and who they kind of want to keep for their core when they do start rebuilding in next year, maybe the 27-28 year. And so for that reason, I think the Bucks are easily going to go in D tier. Now for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I am very intrigued to see how this team operates for this year. Obviously, with the trade that acquired them LaMelo Ball, pairing a guard like LaMelo Ball, who I think is a great distributor and a great scorer at the same time, and putting him next to an all-time guard, in my opinion, all-time shooting guard like Anthony Edwards. He has the potential to be that guy. I know he has. And just putting them on the court next to each other, I think they'll be dynamic. I think they have similar play style. I think they want the same things on the basketball court. I think they see the game the same way. They still have Rudy Gobert manning down the paint. He's had a couple years where we're kind of iffy on him. We're kind of like, can Rudy Gobert be that center that they really need? I think he can come back from it. I have hope for him. To pair two all-stars like LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards, I'm definitely intrigued to see how that team goes. But I don't want to get overzealous and put them in A tier just yet, because obviously, the Timberwolves were good. I think they beat the Nuggets. I don't know. I know they beat the Nuggets, but I don't know how this is going to go. I think with that being said, I'm going to put them in A- tier. I know the Timberwolves beat them in the playoffs. That was when they had guys like Mike Conley still on the team, a veteran guard. And obviously LaMelo Ball on paper is better than Mike Conley. I feel like that presence could kind of be a factor that we have to look at. Especially because LaMelo Ball is still very young, and in the media, I don't know how LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards are going to operate together. Who knows how well it could go, how bad it could go at the same turn. But for that reason, I'm going to put them in A tier. Now for the New Orleans Pelicans, they had a bad year last year, putting up 20-some wins. But again, they didn't really make any moves this free agency. They're not really putting themselves out there to do anything crazy. I'm not really a fan of anything they did so far this offseason. Hasn't been jumping out to me at all, at least off the top of my head. And so for that reason, I think simply I got to put New Orleans in D tier. Now the New York Knicks. I think they're an interesting team because obviously they just won the NBA Finals. As a Sixer fan, not very happy about it, but I got to give credit where credit is due. I think Jalen Brunson put up a great year. I think he proved to everyone that he can be a 1A player. I'm very happy with the way he played. I thought it was a good story for him to prove to those people that were really talking about him like that in the media. Guys like OG are still around. Mikal Bridges are still around. I feel like that core is still there, but they did lose Mitchell Robinson. Honestly, I got to give credit where credit is due. Until someone can take them down, I got to put the New York Knicks as our first S-tier team. And another team that I think is really strong, even though they didn't get to the finals, the OKC Thunder. They still have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They still have Chet Holmgren. I know Chet Holmgren didn't put up a great Western Conference Finals, but they have those guys. I know they got rid of Aaron Wiggins, who was kind of a piece on that team. I think they also got rid of Isaiah Joe. Yeah, they also got rid of Isaiah Joe, who's actually a Detroit Piston now. I think those two guys came in and made a difference for them all playoffs. But they still got one of the best scorers in the league, who just won MVP. They put up a real good fight against the Spurs. I think they just came up short because of some issues they were having on the offensive end. Obviously, Wemby and the defense that the Spurs put on was a masterclass. They really put it down together. I do think that the Thunder are still an S-tier team. Now for the Orlando Magic, they were a good team. They put together a decent run in the regular season. They had a good seed in the playoffs, but they were in that spot where you're kind of good, you're kind of not when it comes to the playoffs. Really anything can happen. They lost Mo Wagner, like I talked about a little bit before, but I think they're just really trying to stay the course, stick with their young guys. Paolo is obviously a budding superstar, and he put up a real good season last year. I do have a lot of faith in them. For that reason, I think I'm going to put them above the Pacers right here in B tier, maybe B. B tier, not B plus, not B minus. I think a solid B tier is good for them. Now for the Philadelphia 76ers. I think right now, and I'm not trying to be biased, I know I'm a Philadelphia 76er fan, but I think right now they are going to be the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. I know there's some speculation on stuff going on in the media saying that they're not going to win as many games as everybody thinks, but at the end of the day, you have 3 1A guys. And I think those 3 guys, specifically a guy like Tyrese Maxey, a guy like Jaylen Brown, and and a guy like Joel Embiid. I think Tyrese Maxey and Jaylen Brown are going to play very well together. I think VJ Edgecombe is a great piece around them. I think he's going to have a great sophomore season. I also think that we're going to help him develop into a defensive stopper. I think he's going to be the guy that we look to, VJ Edgecombe, to be a stopper, go guard the best player. And because of the new pickup in Jaylen Brown, we don't have to rely on VJ Edgecombe to take so many shots in one game. He doesn't have to go from taking 12, 15 shots. He can take 7, 8 shots, and he can really focus on locking down the other team's best player. And I think VJ is one of those guys that'll be okay with that in the terms of the team will win and have more success. And I think the same goes for Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is constantly injured because of the heavy workload we put on him as an organization. So I think him being able to be out there and focus on manning the paint down, getting rebounds, running the floor, hitting the open shots, taking easy shots, letting the game come to him, while guys like Tyrese Maxey and Jaylen Brown go out and go get buckets at a high level, I think we are going to be the team to be in the East. That's my hot take for this upcoming season. I don't want to put us in S tier because obviously we haven't proven anything yet. We had a great 3-1 comeback against the Boston Celtics in the playoffs. We showed flashes of greatness out of our guys, especially Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. But for that reason, I think they're definitely an A+ team. Next up, we have the Phoenix Suns. They had about 500 year in the Western Conference. They were 7th, even though they went for 45 wins. I mean, the Western Conference is definitely brutal. Again, they haven't really made any moves that are really coming out to me, at least off the top of my head. I would say that they were a B- tier last year, but I think they're another team that's kind of going for continuity instead of making any big moves. And I think where they're at, they're stuck in that middle ground of, are we good, are we not? Do we need to rebuild? Do we need to keep going with what we got? I think Devin Booker is still a guy that we need to have eyes on. I think he's a great player still. I think he's a great offensive weapon. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Phoenix Suns kind of get back to their winning ways, but for right now, I got to put them in B-. And personally, for this upcoming season, I'm going to put them under the Chicago Bulls. Next up, we got the Blazers, and this is an interesting team to me because I think they have 3 great point guards. And the issue with that is that they're all great point guards, but you don't have one that can play the 2 guard. I think Damian Lillard could be your best 2 guard, but he's also 6'1". And so if you want to go small, play John Morant and Damian Lillard, what are you going to do with Drew Holiday, who's your guy that you trust to go get defensive stops and guard the best player? What do? You take him off the bench, or do you even get risky and throw him at a 3 position? I think their team is made up of 3 point guards that can really run the show. I don't know if they complement each other too well, but I am intrigued to see how John Morant and Damian Lillard play together. I know Damian Lillard is getting to the end of his career. He's getting to that older part. He's getting to that older age in his NBA career where, he's still Damian Lillard. He's still going to be able to pull up from 35 feet and sink a shot to win a game. I don't doubt that. But I think the mix of John Morant, Drew Holiday, and Damian Lillard might be something that we need to watch out for. And that being said, honestly, I think I'm going to put the Blazers behind the Bulls, but right in front of the Suns. Next up, we got the Kings. And I think the Kings had something really good going the past 3 years. They had Fox, they had Sabonis, they made a run against the Golden State Warriors at one point a couple years ago in the playoffs. They really had something good going, and they kind of just let it go away. Like, they let it get away from them a little bit. They shipped Fox around. Sabonis, I haven't heard of even Sabonis. He was an all-star when he was with the Pacers. They picked him up and he was still playing at an all-star pace. But now really the Kings have done nothing but go downhill. And their pick, Darius Acuff Jr., I was very high on him in college in Arkansas. He put up a great March Madness tournament. He was one of those players that I had an amazing time watching. But his summer league performances, he really hasn't been doing anything spectacular or special. And if anything, he's been looking worse than what we expected out of him. He's a scoring guard. He's a quick guard. He gets to the rim. He's tough. He's been putting up bad shooting performances, bad efficiencies. And with that, what do you really have? If he's doing that in the summer league, what can you expect out of him to start the regular season in the NBA when the real competition is out? And so with that being said, I think they still have some moves. They shuffled pieces around, but I don't think they made that big splash that they were hoping for. So I'm going to kind of put them in the middle here in D tier. Now the San Antonio Spurs. Obviously, they just went to the finals. They had a pretty lackluster performance, if you ask me. I thought they could have put up a way better performance against the Knicks. They blew that one game. That was one of the worst comebacks in terms for the Spurs, one of the worst games in the NBA Finals history for them. I think they're very young though, and I think that's what good we can take away from that NBA Finals. Victor Wembanyama took a massive pay cut in his extension, even though it looks like a supermax. He took a lot of money. He took it away and put it back into the franchise so they can re-sign down the line. People like Dylan Harper and, other guys that really showed up for them in the finals. I think that they're a very great young team. I think they are going in the right direction. Whether they made a move or not in this free agency and really in the draft, for me, they picked up Jaden Quayton, who I think is a very interesting prospect. They pick up Terrence Reed Jr. I think those are very good players. They had a tough time with non-Wemby minutes. So I think picking up two guys who could potentially help you in the front court, I think that was a very smart decision by the front office. I think they're going in the right direction overall. I think keeping the continuity within the organization was a very good idea. I think not making too many moves. They were one of the first teams to drop out of the LeBron race. I think they're really focused on honing what they have in their front office and on their court right now, and I really respect them for that. I hope that they keep developing. I think Victor Wembanyama also has potential to be an all-time great, as we saw in this playoff run, his first playoff run. That being said, I think the San Antonio Spurs are another S-tier team. I'm going to put them above the Thunder, obviously, because of what we saw in the Western Conference Finals. Now, the Raptors, obviously, when I said with the Clippers, that trade being on hold kind of puts an asterisk on what they've done in free agency so far, because outside of the Kawhi Leonard trade, they've been kind of quiet, kind of low-key, not really doing too much. But if they are able to get Kawhi Leonard and Kawhi Leonard's able to stay healthy, I do think they get put into this middle B tier. The East is obviously less severe than the West, at least on paper. Right now, even though the Heat look good, the Sixers look good, the Cavs look good, the Pistons do look good, the Knicks obviously look good. And then really it's just the Celtics and all the rest of these Eastern Conference teams are kind of down here. I think that the Raptors will kind of be better than the Magic, not as good as the Mavericks, so for that reason they're going right in the middle of the B tier for me. Utah Jazz. Now for me, I know Darren Peterson had a lot of stuff going on in college. He was coming out of games. People were like, what's up with him? The games he's been putting up in the Summer League are legit. They are legit. In any other draft, he's a first overall pick. I think Ace Bailey's going to continue to develop. I think Lauri Markkanen still can play at an all-star pace. I'm intrigued to see what they have, and my hot take is that they're going to be above the Magic, maybe above the Raptors, but for now, put them right under the Raptors. I'm very intrigued to see how Darren Peterson plays. I think he's ready for a great rookie year. I think Ace Bailey is primed for a great sophomore season. I've been seeing him in that weight room, seeing a couple of videos online about it. I think them two, they can be a really nice duo in the league. And, I think the Jazz are doing a great job putting pieces around them. And Lauri Markkanen, again, can be playing at that all-star pace. If they can do that and figure things out, get things clicking by the regular season, I really do think that they can make not only a play-in run, but I think they can even find themselves in the playoffs. And lastly, we have the Washington Wizards. Today I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw Anthony Davis was in the lab. I think he's committed to being a Washington Wizard. I think Trae Young is definitely, as we saw, he signed his new deal, committed to being a Washington Wizard. And then obviously that number 1 overall pick, AJ DeBanza. I think he's legit. I know that his first game, NBA Twitter, NBA media was kind of all over his first game, calling him a flopper and whatnot, but I think he put up a very mature game, especially in his second game. I think he's shown us all throughout high school, all throughout college, and even now in his summer league games that he has the makings of a superstar. So putting a guy like Trae Young and AD, who are veteran, all-star level players at their best, around a guy like AJ DeBanza, who already is showing that he can be a star. My other hot take, and I don't want you guys to come at me, feel free to though, in an Eastern Conference, the way the Eastern Conference is set up right now, I think that the Washington Wizards can make the playoffs, maybe even get up to a 5 seed. I think with the way I think it would go, on my tier list, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. We have 6 in the Celtics, and then 7 here in the Raptors. I think the Wizards can be better than the Raptors. I think they can be better than the Magic. I think they can be better than the Pacers. I think they can be better than the Bulls. I think they can be better than most of these B-tier teams, because Trae Young is still one of my favorite point guards in the league. I think he's a cold-blooded killer on his best day. I think AD still has what it takes. I think if he can stay healthy, and obviously that's the big if, that's the asterisk we put on the Washington Wizards and on Anthony Davis as a whole. If he can stay healthy, I really think they can put it together. And again, I'm very high on AJ DeBanza as a player and a prospect. So for that reason, I think they're going to go right here in B tier. All right, y'all. This is my official 2026-2027 NBA tier list. So I guess if you were to put it kind of in standings for the Eastern Conference, you'd see the Knicks at 1, Philadelphia at 2, Cleveland at 3, Pistons at 4, Heat at 5, and it's Celtics at 6, Washington at 7, Raptors at 8, Magic at 9, and Pacers at 10. These play-in games, I think these would be some nice play-in games. And then obviously your bottom 5 in the East are the Chicago Bulls, Atlanta Hawks, Charlotte Hornets, Brooklyn Nets, and Milwaukee Bucks. And then I guess my standings for the Western Conference, based off this tier list, are the San Antonio Spurs at 1, Thunder at 2, Nuggets at 3, Timberwolves at 4, Rockets at 5, Lakers at 6, Mavericks at 7, Jazz at 8, Golden State at 9, Clippers at 10. And then my bottom 5 obviously would be Portland, Phoenix, Memphis, Sacramento, and New Orleans. Let me know in the comments if you guys disagree, agree, what your favorite team is, what you've liked from free agency so far, and the draft, summer league. Let me know all those takes in the comments. Like up this video, subscribe for more content like this. Let me know what you guys want to see, and I'll see you guys in the next one.